Do you ever wonder where the calls to use ivermectin, a livestock dewormer, came from? Especially as a treatment for coronavirus, which of course has not been proven to be an effective treatment for coronavirus. Well, it turns out that there are some profit motives behind pushing this drug, and stick around because I'm gonna give you the details on how it all works in just a minute. But what prompted me to really investigate this was a story involving a judge in Ohio who has ordered a hospital to administer ivermectin to one of its COVID-19 patients, despite the fact that the FDA has noted on multiple occasions that it is not an effective treatment or a preventative measure for coronavirus, and the vaccine has gotten full approval by the FDA, the Pfizer vaccine. Now, and by the way, you can get the vaccine for free. Now, Judge Gregory Howard wrote that doctors treating 51-year-old Jeffrey Smith shall immediately administer ivermectin to Smith, according to court documents. Smith will receive 30 milligrams of the drug for 3 weeks. Now, why would a judge make this decision, especially since ivermectin is not an effective treatment for COVID? Well, it turns out that Jeffrey Smith was prescribed this drug by a specific doctor. Okay, but the hospital that he is currently receiving treatment at, he's hospitalized with COVID-19, refused to administer it because they were being responsible in noting that it is not an effective treatment for COVID. Jeffrey Smith came down with COVID-19 in early July and has been in the ICU of the Butler County Hospital for weeks. His wife, Julie Smith, asked in Butler County Common Pleas Court on August 20th for an emergency order for the use of ivermectin. Julie Smith explored ivermectin as an option for her husband's treatment on her own and connected with and this is important, with Dr. Fred Wagschel. Now, he prescribed the drug and the hospital refused to administer it. Now look, at first I thought the judge was the bad guy, but the judge was like, well, a doctor prescribed it to him, so the hospital must administer it as a result of that prescription. It is not the judge's job to determine whether or not it's an effective treatment for the patient. Now, the doctor, though, is the questionable one for making the decision to prescribe something that he very likely knows is not an effective treatment for COVID-19. Now, who is Dr. Fred Wagschel? Well, he is a Dayton, Ohio area pulmonary doctor who's listed as the founder of the Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance, a alleged nonprofit that touts ivermectin as both a preventative and treatment for COVID-19. The organization's How to Get Ivermectin section on its websites includes prices and locations of pharmacies that will supply it. Now, I'm gonna get into the grift component of this drug in just a minute, but Cenk, I wanted to give you a chance to jump in.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not the judge's fault. He's got to let him have that medicine. The part that breaks my heart is they keep waiting for this medicine as if it's going to save them, when it's just snake oil. And ivermectin in small doses aren't necessarily going to hurt you. Obviously, talk to your local doctor. But in large doses can cause nausea, vomiting, seizures, heart problems, and could kill you. And as we told you before, 70% of the calls to the poison center in Mississippi are because people took too much ivermectin. By the way, why are they taking too much of it? Because they're taking the amount that is prescribed, not prescribed, but put forward for horses and cattle. I don't know if you know this, they're slightly larger than us. So when you take those doses, well, then you're creating a significant health problem for yourself. But worse than that is waiting around for it to cure you, even if you took a lower dose, because it ain't gonna cure you. As Anna's about to tell you, it's a giant scam. It's a money-making scam, and all these people put their hope into it, and so that she's going to the judge and be like, "Please, you gotta let my husband's sick. Right. You gotta let him take ivermectin." No, listen to the doctors. Listen to the doctors.
So look. Since he's hospitalized, they are treating him. And by the way, it's unclear whether or not he's vaccinated, so we can't say for sure. But the likelihood is that he is unvaccinated because the vast majority of hospitalized coronavirus patients right now happen to be unvaccinated. However, since he's hospitalized, they are giving him steroids, Regeneron. I mean, they're giving him everything that a COVID patient would get. But you're right in noting that ivermectin is not gonna save him. It's just good news that he's getting actual effective treatment, but who knows if he's gonna survive, right? Because some people, even with all of that treatment, even as they're on a ventilator and they're hospitalized, a lot of people don't make it. So that's why this story is so depressing. But now let's get to the snake oil component to it. Where did ivermectin and calls to use it as a COVID-19 treatment come from? And once you get into the details, you get a sense of the profit motive behind it. Now, it is a drug that was manufactured by Merck, which is a major pharmaceutical company. You can get generic versions of the drug, but the way that doctors and certain organizations are making money off of telemedicine and by prescribing this drug for its off-label use is where the grift comes in. So this all came about in December of 2020, and it was pushed by a group known as America's Frontline Doctors, okay? The person who founded America's Frontline Doctors is this emergency room doctor out of Los Angeles by the name of Simone Gold. She was actually arrested on January 6th for her role and participation in the Capitol riots. Now, what they do is they charge people for these consultations through telemedicine. And obviously they make money off of those consultations, and they have doctors who are willing to prescribe ivermectin for its off-label and unproven use as a coronavirus treatment. So they charge an arm and a leg in certain cases in order for people to be able to obtain these prescriptions. They're able to do this through telemedicine services, which were loosened in terms of the restrictions on telemedicine during the pandemic, because obviously people might want to see a doctor without going into a hospital or going into the doctor's office. And so since those restrictions were loosened, here come the people with their grift, taking advantage of the system. And this group, America's Frontline Doctors, not only do they charge for the consultation, they also will expect the person who gets the prescription to charge or to pay extra in order to obtain the drug, right? And then what they do is these like so-called RV tours. They'll go around the country saying they're doing these RV tours, and they'll charge people $1,000 to do meet and greets with these doctors who are pushing the drug. And the Federal Trade Commission right now has sent out 400 letters to groups and individuals who are doing similar things because they're pushing for drugs that are actually harming people, and at the same time they're making money by doing it. Now on social media, the America's Frontline Doctors is one of the top organizations steering customers to the deworming medication as a coronavirus treatment. On its website, people looking for COVID-19 medicine are told to click on a button labeled "Contact a Physician" and pay $90 for the consultation. The link takes customers to another website, Speak with an MD, where they're asked to submit payment information and told that one of the frontline doctors will call them within a few days, with sick patients being prioritized. The group describes Speak with an MD as a telemedicine service with hundreds of AFLDS trained physicians. And by the way, after they get the prescription, some of the customers are charged anywhere between $70 to $700 for ivermectin, which again is not a proven treatment or a proven preventative method in response to coronavirus. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting. So this doctor that we're talking about who prescribed the drug to the man in Ohio, he's, as far as I know, not part of this particular group of grifters. He just decided to start his own group, frontline, COVID-19 doctors, and he should be investigated because he's a doctor. He knows what he's doing, which means that it's abundantly clear that he's prescribing a drug that's ineffective. And by the way, you know what they do? Some of the people who call into America's Frontline Doctors are met with doctors who are like, listen, get vaccinated, but I'll also prescribe ivermectin, right? And I think that's a way of them trying to cover their own asses, much to the chagrin of the patients who have been, convinced that the vaccines are dangerous and awful, right?
I don't think that's it, actually.
Okay, hold on, one more thing though. This doctor that we're talking about, if you go to his website, what he advocates for is an ivermectin/mask plus method. So he's telling them to wear the masks, right? Which is the effective method. But he's also prescribing ivermectin, which is ineffective. And that helps to, I think it helps to cover their asses. Like, why do you think it doesn't help to cover their asses?
No, for the last doctor that you mentioned, that sounds like that might be what he's doing. No, for the frontline guys, they don't have dozens of physicians. There's only a couple of people. The overwhelming majority of doctors tell you to do the right things. What they did is they outsourced to another company that isn't wackadoodle. They're just a normal telemedicine company. So a lot of times these guys are getting normal doctors that are doing telemedicine and they're telling them, oh, take the vaccine. And then the customers are outraged. They're like, wait a minute, I thought the vaccine was bad. That's why I'm here for ivermectin. And he's like, look, dude, I'm doing telemedicine. If you want ivermectin, I'll give it to you, right? But you should also do the thing. That's why because there isn't a whole lot of doctors who think, oh, only take ivermectin. So that's why they had to outsource, and it's cheaper. So that's why. Anyway, but look, guys, the origin of the story is also super interesting. It turns out all of this started when right-wing groups wanted to support Trump when he was talking about hydroxychloroquine. And so they're the ones that put together that famous press conference. You remember with the doctors and the demon sperm lady?
Yep,
right?
Same group.
And so then they took some of those doctors and they started having them tour across the country and in their lab coats, to make it seem like Trump knows what he's talking about. Here are these esteemed demon sperm doctors, and they're saying that Trump is right, and that they're covering up the real medicine, right? And so it all started as an ass-kissing operation of Trump. But then some of those doctors, of course, being the dirtbags that they are and not actually practicing real medicine, were like, oh, wait a minute, on top of supporting Trump, I can also make money doing this.
Exactly.
So when you talk about Simone Gold, for example, I mean, in a sense, she's a frontline doctor, frontline in the rebellion, right? In the wrong way, the riots on January 6th. But she wasn't there as a doctor; she was just there as a rioter.
By the way, real quick, their first strategy wasn't to encourage people to take hydroxychloroquine. Their first strategy in support of Donald Trump, and by the way, this group is funded by right-wingers, of course, including Tea Party groups. Their first strategy was to prematurely open the country back up, which is what Trump was calling for. So this was their way of supporting Trump. And then it morphed into pushing for hydroxychloroquine, and then later it morphed into pushing for ivermectin, which clearly there's a profit motive behind them doing this. So there's a profit motive when it comes to these media conspiracy theorists who are like, ooh, I'm gonna tell you what the hot new treatment is, even though it's gonna harm you. And that helps appeal to the conspiracy theorist audience, and it helps to drive up their ratings. And then there's a grift going on with these organizations and these groups who are charging consultation fees to individuals who have been convinced that the vaccine, which is free and has wide, approval by the FDA, is bad, but somehow this unproven, livestock medication that has no impact on your respiratory system, but does have an impact on your intestinal tract, is somehow better. Like, that's what they should do.
Yeah, so it starts as a way of saying, yeah, open up the businesses, and Trump is right. And then once they get into the hydroxy business, they go, oh, wait a minute, I can make money from hydroxy because I'm a so-called doctor. So I'll just start prescribing that and I'll make some good money. And then, oh my God, Simone Gold's famous now because she was on January 6th. And right-wingers love people who hate America and want to destroy our democracy. So then they start doing the RV tour. They start charging $1,000 because these doctors are celebrities now.
Yep.
To see them.
They encourage people to do monthly donations.
Yeah.
Monthly recurring donations.
For what? For non-medical advice. A normal doctor doesn't charge you a monthly fee to give you advice as a doctor because he's a doctor, right? He charges you a fee when you show up and you have an appointment. Anyway, so then they realize, oh my God, this is awesome. We can lie to Americans and make money doing it. So when ivermectin pops up on the scene, they're like, this is gold. And there's overwhelming demand because right-wing media is going crazy, and some people still pretending to be left-wing media. They're slanging that horse paste. So they're like, great, we'll charge you $90 for a consultation. The guys that we outsource it to charge $60. We'll keep the $30 on top. But for a lot of you, we won't even do it. That's why there's tons of them that are going, I need, my husband is sick. And that's what really makes me so sad. Because you can tell in the stories of the patients, they really are getting suckered. They really believe it. And they take advantage of the most vulnerable people. They know right-wingers are target-rich environment for guys who aren't that bright, okay? That's a perfect target for them. And then there's the elderly.
It's not even about being bright or not, Cenk. It's about how institutions have failed people to the point where there's widespread distrust. I don't think that it's just about right-wingers. I think that this has impacted people of all political affiliations. But yes, it's definitely dominated in the right wing. I don't think it's just because, oh, people are dumb. I think it's because people don't trust our institutions. And these groups, right, are exploiting that. They're exploiting that for profit.
The grifters target people who are susceptible to mythology, that can't figure things out on their own, paranoia, whatever you want to say. They go to the low-hanging fruit, who are the people who are easiest to trick. And in this country, that has become de facto at least 80% right-wingers. Are there some cuckoo left-wingers who don't believe in vaccines and want to try horse paste instead? Apparently there are, right? But it's largely the right wing. They're the easiest scam in the world. And look, don't be a right winger, get educated. But beyond that, yes, I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the actual patients that are waiting with dying family members for goddamn horse paste. So they charge the $90 in the beginning. Sometimes they just flat out keep it and go, who cares? We're not gonna give it to you, you dummy. What did you think this was? So then they say, okay, now give me the $70 to $700. Ivermectin is actually relatively cheap. It doesn't cost $700. They're just robbing people blind. And then on top of that, a lot of the time, they don't send the ivermectin. So there's all these people that are out there going, where is it? I trusted them, I believed in them. My wife is dying, my father is dying, and they're waiting for something that is never going to come because they're robbing you. The point is the robbery. And so this is what America has devolved into. And there's lawlessness. Nobody ever does anything about it.
Totally.
Do we have any law enforcement at all? I mean, this is classic fraud.
Look, the FTC, to be fair, sent 400 strongly worded letters. So we've got that.
Look, they should do real investigations, and whether it's the people that we mentioned in this story or not, they're innocent until proven guilty. But there should be investigations of very credible charges here. And if they are guilty, they should get massive jail sentences, massive. They robbed people that they knew were dying.
Yep, they don't care.
And they knew that if they robbed them and gave them false hope, there would be a greater chance that they would die. And they did it anyway. So find out who actually did it. There should be, we're trying to piece together who might have done it, who might not have done it. But there should be actual law enforcement, and they should bring these people to court. And if they didn't do it, then great, let them go. But if they did do it, my God, put them away, maybe for life.
And I want to just give credit to the wonderful reporting by Vera Bergengruen over at Time, because she's the one who found the details about what's happening with this ivermectin grift. And I imagine that the same model is being replicated with other groups of people who just see an opportunity to charge all sorts of fees to desperate people who are looking for some sort of magic potion or cure for COVID. Just get vaccinated, please.
Last thing here, we'll put the link to that great article down below if you're watching this video later on YouTube or Facebook. Check out the description box. We often have those links, and it's a great piece and you should read it. And finally, look guys, I'm worried. They're gonna get these guys to turn on the doctors. And they're gonna say, oh, the ivermectin would have saved you if it wasn't for the goddamn doctor, the actual doctors. And so wait for that next phase of right-wing insanity. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges, You got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.